I am really concerned about my charging system. And I had a guy check it, I don't know, a week or so ago. And it just doesn't sound right to me. But there's an alternator generator place out on Hollywood that, so they're specialists. But I've got a very trusted mechanic shop that I've used for a million years through all the family members that have run it. And I'm going to go out and see him and sing, "Doctor, doctor, give me the news. I got a bad case of charging system blues." The electric system just doesn't seem to be right. But I've got a concern because I don't like the battery that's in the car, for one. But I don't want to buy a battery if I'm having problems with the alternator. So I need to check that first, because the alternator is like $300 or $400 for the new good one, not counting labor. And I really don't want to do labor on it because it's kind of a trick to get it out. I had a Cadillac that was real tricky like that, and I'd kind of rather not do it when it's tricky like that. It's one of those puzzle piece things where you gotta kind of figure out which way it needs to come out and all that kind of mess. It's just totally aggravating. So all the top end stuff on this car is fairly easy to do, but that bottom end stuff I'm just not game on this particular car. So I need to check with him and see what is going on and if there is a problem, and then see what we need to do. Somebody mentioned to me they didn't think that the cables on the battery were factory, and I believe they are. So I'll take it to the pro, and he's the greatest. He's out at Valparaiso, Twin City Auto Repair, not the transmission one behind the washateria down in Niceville. I'm talking about the one up across from the old Enterprise rent-a-car place. This guy is tops. Really nice guy. And he's very honest. If you want a good, honest mechanic, that's the one. Driving towards Shalimar. Chambers white Cadillac, and I was driving from Huntsville, dressing the showgirls, and going into Columbus, Georgia, when it was big bad money back in the day. And well, you could work there 24 hours a day, every day. Like how you parked right in the middle of the street. Yikes. And I had it was like a 70s Cadillac, big white, beautiful Cadillac. But he gave to me, and it was I think it was like a 71. He had tons of cars, and he just didn't drive it, and it was at his sister Cindy Cooper's house. And he was complaining about my red Camaro because a tractor trailer delivering mail backed into it on the expressway during a fire wreck, and he backed into it like twice. I think he was falling asleep, and I believe I know who was driving that truck too. And the police wouldn't do anything. I'm like, don't let him go. Look at the front end of my car. It looked like a shark took a big bite out of the front end, ruined it. And I had to tie it down the log chain for months till they got it fixed. But so Steve joked around when we're sitting at the club, and he's like, I had priority parking right in front of the club, and I was the feature girl, and he said, when are you gonna do something about that car? And I'm like, well, I mean, you know, it got hit, and I haven't been able to get anything done about it, so I'm gonna have to do it myself and order the parts. And he said, well, it looks terrible sitting in front of the club. I said, yeah. So he said, what are you gonna do? I said, well, I'm also looking for another Cadillac, because I had sold my other one, and because I had needed the money at the time. And I was engaged to a guy, and that went bad, and I sold my Cadillac that was a gift to me from a dead guy. Just needed another second car anyway. And he said, well, I got a Cadillac I'll give you. Go over to my sister's house. She'll give it to you. And he let me drive it for a month on his tags and insurance. It was really nice. And so I had concerns about the charging system, and I had it checked like 6 times at different parts houses, and I just didn't like the way it was acting. It just didn't seem right. And when your charging system is not right, things get weird on your car. They act weird. It'll run weird, and it's just because the charging system. And you usually go cheapest parts first. You know, do the battery, do the alternator, whatever. But you got to be careful, because you have to make sure it's not your alternator, because it will trash your battery if you buy a new battery. So anyway, Heather and I were driving from Huntsville or Chattanooga, one of the two. I think it's from Huntsville, going into Columbus, Georgia to go work, and I brought her with me so she could run costumes and dance if she wanted, and which worked out great. We made a ton of money on that trip. And on the way in, it was starting to get dark, and the car was not driving right, and something was making noise, and I thought, boy, I bet it's that alternator. We're thinking that car had a generator on it, and it kind of got worse and worse, and that dead stretch going in on 431 south, I was really concerned, because there's like nothing out there. And sure as heck, as soon as we get down, it's really making noise. And I had the guy check it, and he's saying no. Went down another another couple blocks, and I mean, I just don't have power. And so I went in the parts house and I said, look, I don't know what's up with this car, but you know, I've had it checked so many times. So I took the alternator generator off, whatever it was then, and took it in the shop and they tested, bench tested, and he said it's no good. And I said, okay. And that's not to mention the bearings were grinding out on it. And so I had to replace it right there in the lot, which was cold. And it's starting to get dark, and they had no light in their lot. So it's like 3 people are holding flashlights while I'm trying to put this thing in. Got it in and back on the road so the car will run so you can go to work. About an hour late for work, but anyway. You have to really watch charging system problems. Really, really important. So I'm going to take it out to the guy who knows and see if he sees anything wrong with it. Because the weird thing is, on the board it's reading almost 18. Last guy that tested this one said that it was reading 14 on his unit. And I said, well, I can't believe it's reading 18 on the board all the time. It just always does. It always reads 18. And I mean, that dial could not be right, or connection might be loose, or grody, I don't know. There might be some solenoid or something going to it. It's malfunctioning, I don't know. I'm taking it to the boss man and see if he can look at it for a moment today and tell me. He's kind of used to me. I always tip him. And he's like, you don't owe me anything. I'm like, well, here. Because I want him to be there, you know, especially if I didn't have money or something. I want him to be there for me. So, treat the folks right. When they spend time with you, try to pay their way, you know. Don't try not to do free. Speed limit out here, man. You got military police and everything. A friend of mine got a ticket here years ago. Going too fast. It was not a good thing. Really not a good thing. I could have sworn they had the little airplanes in the overpass here. I might have took them down. There's the airport. This is over where I caught that girl drunk driving. She almost drove right over this thing on the right into the next level down there below where the airport's on. That scared me so bad, I just did not want to see that fate. And the rest of it was like a pinball machine, but she was just everywhere. On the right side of the road up here, she got drove off into the woods here several times. Total heroes. I'll let you go ahead of me, Mac. There you go. Gully into one of those telephone poles. That was right. Saved a life that night, and maybe many others. Look at that sky. Woo. And it's so cold today. It's 46 right now. It's supposed to be colder tonight, I think in the 30s. That stuff worries me to death over this power system, so go to the guy that knows. He's not open, you know, most of the week because he doesn't want to be. He just wants to work a few days a week. So you got to catch him when you can. And if on your car, you gotta make reservations because he's a very wanted mechanic. But he's good and he's quick and his prices are good. And he's way better work than the dealerships. And sometimes a little bit higher than the dealership, but he's the best. This guy doesn't fool around. Mobile notary. Now there's something. 850-621-7311. That's a good idea. Sometimes it's hard to find a notary. You find them all day long until you need one. Place right here on the right. Twin City Auto Service. This guy's so good. I wonder what toys he's got in here today. He's just gonna look at me and go, oh. He's such a cool cat though.